The Sesame Street Treasury, number 1, featuring Jim Henson's Sesame Street Muppets, starring the number 1 and the letter A. 1 for Big Bird. It was Big Bird's birthday, and all of the Sesame Street was helping him celebrate. There were birdseed cakes, games, songs, and jelly beans for everyone. "What a great party!" said the birthday bird. "This cake is so good, I think I'll have another piece." "Go ahead," said Betty Lou. "You have just one birthday a year. Today you're number 1. "That gives me a terrific idea," said the Count. "We can play a counting game." Everybody sighed. "Don't worry," said the Count. "We will only count to 1." "What kind of game is that?" asked Big Bird. "A wonderful game, of course," cried the Count. "I will start. Do you see the sun up there in the sky?" Everyone looked. Sure enough, there was the sun hanging in its usual place. "Now I will count," said the Count, taking a deep breath. "1," he said, happily. "1 sun." "So how do we play the game?" asked Ernie. "You must name something that is one of a kind," said the Count. "The only one in the world." "Okay," said Ernie. "There's 1 sun, and there's 1 moon too. Only 1 moon in the whole wide world." The Count clapped his hands in delight. "One moon!" "I have something to announce there's only 1 of." "What could that be, old buddy?" asked Ernie. What could you have that possibly isn't matched anywhere in this world?"
"You know, Ernie,"
said Bert, looking insulted.
"she lives on the roof of 123 Sesame Street."
Everyone looked puzzled.
"In all the world," said Bert, "there is only 1 pigeon as great as Bernice."
Bert was bursting with pride as he presented his pet pigeon.
"Bernice, do your trick,"
he commanded. "1.
1 Bernice,"
said Bert as Bernice rolled over. "That was wonderful," said the Count. "Now it is time for Betty Lou to think of something." Betty Lou thought and thought. "It's not very easy," she said. "I'm sure you can do it," said the Count. "All of you need is 1 thing. Ha ha ha." "Wait a minute," said Betty Lou. "I know there's only 1 Sesame Street. It's where we live." "Right," said the Count, applauding gleefully. The Count turned to Big Bird. "And now," he said, "it is your turn." "Gee," said Big Bird, "you've all said such good things. I just can't think of a thing that's so special that there's only 1 of in the whole world. I guess I'm not very good at this." Big Bird looked down at his feet in embarrassment. As he stood there, staring at his feet, something strange happened. He began to wiggle his toes. And then he smiled. "I know," he cried. "Look at my feet. There's nobody who has feet just like mine. And nobody has the same long legs. What about all of me? There's only 1 me. 1 big bird," cried the Count. "Wonderful!" "There isn't anybody just like me, is there?" asked Big Bird. "No, Big Bird," said Betty Lou. "There isn't anyone like you in this whole world." And she gave him a great big birthday hug. When is it spring? When raindrops have a tune to play. When the grass gets greener every day. When flowers blossom everywhere. When there's something magic in the air. When a winding road calls to our feet. When we can't just stay on Sesame Street. When we hear some baby robin sing. We're absolutely sure it's spring. Big Bird. His home is in the nest on Sesame Street. His favorite foods are birdseed soup, peanut butter and birdseed sandwiches, and birdseed ice cream. His favorite drink is a birdseed float. His best friend is Mr. Snuffleupagus. His pet's name is Barkley. His favorite activities are roller skating, hopscotch, hide and seek. He is 8 feet tall and 2 inches, and his favorite color is yellow. His favorite wish is to introduce Mr. Snuffleupagus to his Sesame Street friends. His favorite saying is, "Everyone makes mistakes, so why can't I?" If you have this book with you, you can help Little Red Riding Hood find the right path to Granny's birthday party. by following the trail with your finger. A. An A story. I love things that begin with A. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a queen named Queen Agatha. One day, Queen Agatha called all the knights of the kingdom to the throne room. "Knights of the kingdom," announced Queen Agatha, "I love things that begin with A. Whoever can bring me something that begins with the letter A will be rewarded handsomely. Perhaps the winner will dance with me at the royal party tonight." "Oh boy," said Sir Big Bird, "I'm heading for the Royal Zoo. That's the only place where I can find something that begins with the letter A. I'll be right back, Queen Agatha." Sir Bird hurried from the throne room, pausing only long enough to take an apple from the bowl near the throne room door. "I'll bring this apple with me," he said, "in case I get hungry on my way to the zoo." Once outside the castle, Sir Bird realized that he was lost. "Oh no, I'm lost!" cried Sir Bird. "If only there were something to help me find my way to the Royal Zoo." Just then, Sir Bird passed a large arrow. The arrow said, "This way to the zoo." "Oh, look at that arrow!" exclaimed Sir Bird. "That arrow will help me find my way." So he grabbed the arrow and followed it until he reached his destination, a cage in the Royal Zoo where there sat a happy-looking alligator. "Oh, Mr. Alligator, I found you at last," said Sir Bird. "Your name begins with the letter A. Won't you please come back with me to the throne room?" Since the alligator had never before seen a throne room, he was more than happy to follow Sir Bird. When he reached the throne room, Sir Bird announced to the Queen, "Queen Agatha, this alligator's name begins with the letter A. I guess now I can dance with you at the royal party, huh?" "Well," said the Queen, "first of all, that apple and the arrow you have also begin with the letter A." "Oh, how silly of me," said Sir Bird. "I grabbed the apple and the arrow without realizing they begin with the letter A. But since that I brought you an apple, an arrow, and an alligator, I can dance with you at the royal party for sure." "Well, if it's all the same to you, I'd like to dance with your friend. You're a pretty handsome guy, you know that," said the Queen to the alligator. Then she said to Sir Bird, "Sir Bird, since you have found the letter A, I'll give you a lifetime supply of bird seed, and I will also make you my ambassador to Antarctica." "Oh boy," said Sir Bird, and Sir Bird was very happy, and so was the Queen. As for the alligator, he was happy too, because he had always wanted to dance with a queen, and since everybody is happy, the story is over. Animals in Spanish. Animales. Granja, farm. Gallo, rooster. Perro, dog. Vaca, cow. Gato, cat. Cabala, horse. Cerdo, pig. Ganso, goose. Oveja, sheep. Gallina, hen. Cabra, goat. "Howdy, it is I, the Count. I am riding a wild bucking bronco horsey. But not only that, can I ride him, I can count him too. One horsey. Ha ha ha." "Do you know what this is, little bird?" "Sure, Big Bird. It's a stick." "No, what I'm pointing at with little bird. What am I pointing at?" "Oh, let's see. It's the alphabet, little bird. Just think. Every word you can think of is made from these letters. Even stick? Yes, little bird, even stick." Grover's Bedtime Story. "Thank you very much for inviting me to sleep over at your house, Grover," said Prairie Dawn. "I've had such a good time." "Oh, it is fun to have somebody come to visit and sleep over," said Grover. "I am glad that you could come, but now it is late and I think we had better go to sleep." "Grover," said Prairie Dawn, "there's just one little thing. I like to hear a bedtime story before I go to sleep. When I am home, my daddy usually tells me a story." "That is a problem," said Grover. "We could call your daddy on the telephone and he could tell you a story over the phone. How would that be?" "I have a better idea," said Prairie Dawn. "Why don't you tell me a story?" "Me?" said Grover. "Me? Cute, furry, adorable old Grover tell you a bedtime story?" "Why not?" said Prairie Dawn. "I am sure you know lots of nice stories." Well," said Grover, "I have not told many bedtime stories before. In fact, none is how many bedtime stories I have told. None at all. I really do not know how to tell a bedtime story." "Oh, I'm sure you can do it," said Prairie Dawn. "Hello. You just start at the beginning, and the rest will take care of itself." She got into bed and pulled the covers up around her chin. "Okay, Grover, I'm ready now. You can start your bedtime story now." "Oh, oh dear," said Grover. "How to do this? Just start at the beginning and see what happens, huh?" "Ahem. All right," he said. "Once upon a time," he began. "Yes, that is an excellent beginning to my story. Once upon a time. Once upon a time. Once upon a time." Grover," said Prairie Dawn, "what comes next?" "I beg your pardon?" asked Grover. "Well," said Prairie Dawn, "all you said was once upon a time. There has to be more to the story than that. That is just the beginning to the story. What happens next?" "Oh," said Grover, "you want to know what happens next. Of course you do. Heh. Well, let me see. Once upon a time," Grover began again. Well, they lived happily ever after. There you are." "Grover," said Prairie Dawn, "what kind of story is that? That is not the way to tell a story. Once upon a time, they lived happily ever after. That's ridiculous." "You didn't like the way it ended?" asked Grover. "I always thought that they lived happily ever after was a very nice ending to a story." "The ending was okay, and the beginning was okay, but there was no middle." "No middle?" said Grover. "What is a middle?" "The middle of the story is the part of the story where everything happens," explained Prairie Dawn. "You left out the whole middle part." "I am sorry, Prairie Dawn," said Grover. "I told you I did not have much experience in telling bedtime stories." "Well, let me show you how it works," said Prairie Dawn. "Then you will know how, and then you can tell me my bedtime story." "That is an excellent idea," said Grover. "Okay," said Prairie Dawn. "First, you start your story with once upon a time, just as you did. But then you follow it with the middle part of the story. So here it goes. Once upon a time, there was a king named Roundtree, and he had a very smart and beautiful daughter named Victoria Joyce. One day, a wicked magician came and put a spell on 3 good fairies who were weaving an enchanted cloak in which to wrap the mysterious silver apple so that way it could be delivered to the wondrous Wizard of the West. So their fingers turned into string beans, and they could no longer weave the enchanted cloak. But the brave little girl, mesmerized by 6 fire-breathing dragons that guarded the castle gate and flew on the magic flying horse, Basingstoke, through the skies, dodging the evil eagles and horrid hawks that swooped and darted at her, onto the way to the wizard's palace, where she delivered the silver apple to the wizard all by herself. The wizard was so amused at Victoria's splendid feats of bravery and courage that he presented her with a beautiful singing bird and a flower that would always be in bloom. The evil witches on their mountains gnashed their teeth, pulled out their hair, because they had wanted the singing bird and the amazing ever-blooming flower, but they knew they could not fight against such a glorious girl, such as Victoria Joyce. And Victoria sailed home to her father's castle on the back of the great golden swan. And here's where you put the ending part, Grover. And she lived happily ever after. There, you see how easy it is to tell a bedtime story? But you absolutely must have the middle part, or else it's not a story at all. Do you understand now? Grover, Grover, Grover. But Grover had fallen fast asleep. "Oh dear," said Prairie Dawn. "Now I've done it. I've told such a good story that I put Grover to sleep. Now what am I going to do? I'll be up all night." Just then, opened the door, and Grover's mommy came into the room. "Would you like to hear a bedtime story, Prairie Dawn?" asked Grover's mommy. "I used to tell bedtime stories to Grover, but he would always fall asleep right after the "once upon a time" part. He never heard a middle and the end. It would be a great treat for me to be able to tell a bedtime story to someone who could stay awake long enough to hear the happily ever after part. "Oh, thank you," said dear Prairie Dawn, and she curled up under the covers as Grover's mommy sat down beside the bed. "Once upon a time," began Grover's mommy. Big Bird's colors. Green is the color of Granny Bird's couch, of grass and of spinach and Oscar the Grouch. It's not easy being green. Cookie and Grover and Harry are blue, and bluebirds and bluebells and blueberries too. This flower is purple, and so are these grapes, and so are all of Prince Charming's fine capes. Do you prefer gold or silver trim? Red is tomatoes and stoplights and cherries and strawberry jam and that necktie of Harry's. And orange is orange, and so is Bert's nose, and Ernie is orange, and so are my toes. Yellow, bananas, and a big bumblebee, and daisies and butter, and don't forget me. Count's counting page. Greetings, it is I, the Count. In 1 moment I will eat my delicious lunch, but first I will count the things in my lunch. Here is 1, here's a sandwich, that's 1 scrumptious sandwich, ha ha ha. Here is a carrot, that's 1 lovely carrot. Here is a carton of milk, that's 1 wonderful carton of milk. And here, wait just 1 minute, I thought I had 1 tasty oatmeal cookie. Where did my 1 cookie go? Ah, well, I still have 1 marvelous lunch. Ha ha ha. Good night, Rubber Ducky,
It's getting late, Ernie,
said Bert.
and my whole family of sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and cousins are coming to visit us first thing in the morning.
Bert snuggled down in his warm, cozy bed.
Why don't you finish what you're doing and get into bed?
I'm almost finished, Bert, old pal, said Ernie, putting his toothbrush back in the holder. I washed my face and my hands and brushed my teeth, and now I'm ready to get ready for bed.
Ready to get ready? What do you mean?
Asked Bert. Well, I can't just jump into bed just like that, replied Ernie. I have to make sure I have everything I need for sleeping. Now let's see. First, let me check and see if I have my blanket and my pillow.
Of course you have your blanket and your pillow, Ernie,
said Bert.
Your bed has the same blanket and sheets and pillow that it's always had.
Well, that's true, said Ernie, but you can't be too careful. I wouldn't want to get in the bed and all comfy and then find out that my pillow or my blanket wasn't there.
All right,
said Bert.
Your pillow and your blanket are there. Now will you please go to bed?
Just a second, Bert, said Ernie. I have a few other things to check.
Oh, brother,
sighed Bert. Said Ernie, looking around. My alarm clock is set to go off in the morning. My nightlight is on a case, in case I need to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. My hockey stick is ready in case anybody comes and invites me to a midnight game of hockey. And my rubber ducky is oh no!
What's the matter?
Asked Bert. My rubber ducky's not on my bed, yelled Ernie.
Come on, Bert,
said Ernie.
Your rubber ducky is always right there on your bed. I'm sure it's there.
No, it's not, sobbed Ernie. How could I possibly go to sleep without my rubber ducky?
Millions of people have been doing it for years, Ernie. Come on, go to sleep. We'll find your ducky in the morning.
Sleep without rubber ducky? Yelled Ernie. What if I told you to sleep without your paper clips? Huh?
That's different,
said Bert. It is not, and I'm not going to sleep without my rubber ducky, said Ernie. And you're going to help me find him.
Oh, no, said Bert. What I am going to do is lie here in my nice, warm, cozy bed and go to sleep. If you want to stay up all night looking for your rubber ducky, go ahead. But I'm going to sleep. Good night.
All right, Bert, said Ernie. Whatever you say. I'll find rubber ducky all by myself. Yoo-hoo! Rubber ducky, where are you?
All right, I'll help you.
Bert gave in.
Come on, let's find your rubber ducky so we can both get some sleep.
Okay, said Ernie. You look in the refrigerator, and I'll look in the coat closet.
In the refrigerator? Said Bert. What would your rubber ducky be doing in the refrigerator?
You know how hungry he gets just before he goes to bed, said Ernie. Bert looked in the refrigerator. There were pickles and salamis and leftover meatloaf and grapefruits and applesauce and Ernie's ice skates, but no rubber ducky. Ernie checked the coat closet. There were hats and coats and jackets and galoshes and gloves and his old stuffed toy elephant, but no rubber ducky.
I'm looking in the bathroom,
shouted Bert. He found towels and soap and toothpaste and toilet paper and a shower curtain and a washcloth and Ernie's cowboy hat, but no rubber ducky. I'll check the toy box, suggested Ernie. Maybe he fell in there after we played with our toys tonight. Ernie found his fire engine and his blocks and his paint set and his messy Bessie doll and his racing cars and his marking pen and his dollhouse and his dinosaur model kit and a piece of pepperoni pizza, but no rubber ducky.
I'm checking under the bed,
said Bert. He looked under the beds, and he found some shoes and slippers and a book and a baseball and Ernie's art collection and Ernie's ukulele and a package of marigold seeds, but no rubber ducky. I'll check the laundry hamper. Maybe he fell in there while I was getting undressed, said Ernie. Ernie looked in the laundry hamper, and he found socks and undershirts and pants and sweaters and pajamas and underpants, and his fishing rod and his basketball, but no rubber ducky. I give up, said Ernie, exhausted. I've looked everywhere. I'm just going to have to try to sleep without rubber ducky. I don't know how, but I'll try.
That's the spirit, said Bert. I'm sure we'll find rubber ducky in the morning.
I certainly hope so, said Ernie, crawling sadly into bed. He pulled up the covers and put his head down on the pillow with a sigh. Just then, there's a great loud squeak. Rubber ducky, cried Ernie. You were there all the time, under my pillow. Oh, rubber ducky, I'm so happy to find you.
Now will you go to sleep, Ernie?
asked Bert. Sure, Bert, said Ernie. What in the world are you doing up so late? Don't you remember? Your whole family of brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and cousins are coming to visit us first thing in the morning. We don't want you to be all tired and baggy-eyed. Why don't you go to sleep? Good night, Bert, and good night, rubber ducky. Oh no, now the whole house is messy. And it's poor Bert. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. And that is the end of the first Treasury.